Are you communicating
Yeah.
with your boss, or are you just assuming that they're going to notice you? Like, there's a couple of hacks I just got to give that if you don't possess these qualities and you ask my opinion on whether I want to give you a raise, it's an automatic no.
Kris, I find we talk a lot about money. Would you agree?
Dude, money touches everything. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, it's great. But most people, they get their money from a single source, and that source is a day job.
Yep.
And they think that by clockwork, every year they're going to get a raise, and that's just how it works.
Do you really think that people, even in today's age, are hoping to get a raise every year?
Yeah, they expect it. And they're like, yes, 17 more cents an hour. I'm on the path to freedom. Do you think that's going to work?
Well, dude, let's be honest. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurship, huge fan of real estate, huge fan of investing, huge fan of mastering the game of money. But I want to be really clear. Intrapreneurship is how most people are going to do it. They're going to work for somebody else. And a lot of people actually don't know how to hack the system to get a raise. But there's raises available. Listen, bosses out there want to give money to people that help them grow their business, that get the vision, that get the mission, that understand what it's all about. And, you know, for me, when I meet people, I usually put my employees, if we will, into two categories. It's like those that are satisfied and are plateaued, and those that are clearly hungry for more.
Yep. So let's talk about this, because who do you give a raise to? Those that are satisfied but have been here a long time, or those that are hungry for more?
Dude, the seniority game is a stupid game of the past generation. I don't think anyone wants to play. At least, dude, I don't operate that way. I'm like, yes, it's cool that you did that one thing for me 5 years ago. What have you done in the last 6 months?
Well, here's something super interesting about the seniority thing. Do you know what it means to be raised out of a job?
No.
That is when you keep getting raises to the point where the company starts to say, wait a minute, you haven't added anything different. You haven't developed any new skill sets.
Yeah.
I could hire someone fresh out of college at a lower amount. Why would I pay you more? And to the point where people get let go because they've just raised themselves out of a job.
So today's episode really is about how do you make yourself invaluable?
Yep.
How do you make yourself so valuable that the company just wants to keep giving you more money? And more importantly, when they reflect on your recent past, they feel good, right? I mean, you should be hacking a system. I work out with a buddy of mine, and he was just telling me, he's like, Kris, I feel trapped again. I got this job. I literally got a job that I've been trying to get for years. They doubled my income. It's now been a couple of months, and he says, I'm worried. I said, what are you worried about? He says, I haven't even started doing the thing that they hired me for. I don't have all the oversight in the world. I've got all this free time. I work from home. He's like, am I just gonna, is it gonna sneak up on me? Am I gonna get canned? And I said, dude, you're operating on borrowed time and you should be terrified. But I'm just asking, why on earth aren't you using your excess time to either create more value inside the company so that you can justify the raise that you got, get another raise, or dude, freaking do something on the side so that you can have more security. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. You got one, you should be terrified.
We're joined today by Kris.
We never have.
We haven't introduced
Kris
him yet.
Milliner, known as millionaire, operations officer in the house today. How ironic we're having a conversation with you two about getting a raise. You both know what that feels like. And yet how weird is that to work at a company that preaches investing?
Wait a minute. You've gotten raises?
I have.
Kris hired me on in 2014 at $28,000 a year, and that's still what I'm making. What? You got raises? How did you do this? Just kidding.
Seriously though, you're the two best people that we could have on today because you both know, I've told you, game the system for your own personal game. You're both investors. You both own real estate. You're smart. I just want to start with this. Why are you guys intrapreneuring as opposed to just going off on your own? Like what makes our chemistry work together?
Who wants to tackle it first? You haven't said much yet. Let's go, Kris, first.
Okay. One of the reasons, Kris, why I love intrapreneurship is I recognize that I don't have all the skill sets needed for success. One of the things, Kris, that you and your team brings to the table is you are a fantastic influencer. You know how to grab people and hold their attention. And I like to refer to people like you as rainmakers because you guys bring the rain and you bring the business. I see myself as more of a bucket builder. My job is to take and harness the rain that you're bringing and create it and channel it into systems where it can create stability and longevity for you long term. So I view intrapreneurship as a shortcut to success because I'm able to piggyback off of your fantastic skill set and then bring my skills to the table to help augment and create security.
No, just to be honest, Kris, you used to be a thimble builder And now, and then we made it rain too much. And then you learned how to build buckets and then big, massive canisters. And no,
Silos.
Listen, no one's dream to impact or change the world can come about without an amazing team. And it's interesting. How often have I created that awkward pause in our own culture by telling people it's like, yo, this can't just be a job for you. There's no room for you here if you don't passionately believe in the company's mission. And by the way, how many times do I actually get up and say, I want you to get a raise?
All the time.
All the time.
Why would I do that? Isn't that a dumb move for a business owner to make?
Not at all in this instance, because we know exactly what we want.
Yeah, and let's actually talk about that, because when we say let's give someone a raise, is it for seniority?
No.
It's for what?
Adding more value.
Yeah, it's 3 letters though.
ROI.
It's ROI. Dude,
Every
we do everything we do here is based on ROI. My investing is based on ROI. My time is based on ROI. And I'm always telling people, like, listen, look for a spot in the company where you feel like you can make it shine brighter, where you can make some money, track that, and then ask for a piece of it. Why wouldn't I do that? I'd be stupid if I didn't do
Kris,
that.
I expected, you got up in a company meeting probably 6 months ago and you shared this. You're like, I'm going to share with you guys how to get a raise. And I was like, great. How many people are going to come to me being like, oh, I want to do this, want to do that. And I was like, well, this is going to be really good. Person has done it yet.
Yeah.
On our team, we've told them exactly what they need
Bro,
to
that
get
is
a
why
raise.
I'm preaching get a raise. So what I'd love to do right now, let's actually talk about what a person does
Yep.
to get a raise. In other words, when you're a part of a team, it's part of a crowd. How do you stand out from the crowd?
Yep.
How do you have to live and operate differently? And I'd love to just start with each of you just sharing, what do you feel like that you did to get your raises? And was it about a raise, or was a raise a natural byproduct? Like, just share a little bit of your own story, and let's give them the list of hacks of what everyone should do that's listening, that says, you know what, dude, I would love in time to double my income. How do I do that? I'll give you a plan today.
So I think a key part of intrapreneurship is making sure you've landed in a space that works well for you, right? Like, it's going to be tough to be an entrepreneur at a company that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
And for me, I knew from a young age that I needed to work a job that had a lot of variety. I needed it to not be the same drudge every day in, day out, clock in, clock out. I couldn't do it. And Kris, when I started working with you, I realized something, that you fed my boredom. And this may sound totally
Does that mean that I made you bored, or I fed your variety?
You fed, sorry, yes, yeah.
I fed your boredom.
I was bored. You helped me avoid boredom, because you were always doing something new, and I was always eager to be like, okay, whatever's the new thing, like I want to jump in and be part of it. How can I add value? I remember when we held our first event, and I just dove in and I was like, I want to be part of this. And I helped run the entire AV crew. And at the end of the event, you're like, hey, Carson, I'm giving you a promotion. You are now our event manager for AV. And it was like the first promotion I ever got in a company. And I realized that, wait a minute, I didn't get promoted and then do it. I did the task, and then you saw that I had a skill level there, and you gave me the promotion.
Dude, when I was in college, the job that I was working, I had been there for about a year, and I was like, okay, this is a 100% commission gig. If I want this thing to work long-term, I got to figure out how to build in some sustainability. And I remember I went to the trainer, I said, hey, I want to help you train. And I got his buy-in. And I went to the boss's boss, and I basically said, hey, pay me $500 a week. In addition to doing all my sales, I will jump in every other week in training, and I will help assist on training, and you guys will have some redundancy. The company said yes. And then eventually that trainer left, and I became the corporate trainer. My pay went up. And then I started looking at how I could help these people make more money. And the more successful they became, I asked for some overrides. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm capped. These people are not willing to pay me anymore. I can make $50,000 a year in commission. I can make $50,000 a year as a trainer, but how do I get paid more? I saw a spot of the company where there was a whole bunch of small sales that no one was going after. I said, for fun on the side, let me build a team and let me help the company capture this money. And I didn't ask for anything. They said, sure. Got the resources, built the team, put it together. 6 months later, this team was doing about $70,000 a week in sales. And I said, hey, look at what we've built. Look at what we've done. By the way, we've done, X hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. This is what it's going to mean to the company's bottom line. Would you mind paying me an override on that? And they said, sure. And I gave myself a raise. And it was because I did it first and then I asked. So I want to be a part of a company where their culture says, if you add and create more value, we're going to reward you for that.
Well, for me, I've always been obsessed with being the best at whatever it is I'm doing. And for me, as I've looked at my journey through your coaching department, Kris, through customer service, through admin, and through backend, I've realized that it's been my drive to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing as part of who I am. See, I view it like when you've got a job, you show up, you're putting in the time, but how many people actually go and put in the effort behind the time?
Yeah.
For me, as I'm looking at opportunities for raises or promotions, I've had the opportunity to sit on both ends of the table where I'm either the one asking for a raise or a promotion, or I'm the one being asked. And let me let you guys in on a dirty little secret. You guys have heard of the 80-20 rule, right? How 20% of the people will do 80% of the work?
Yep.
Let me give you a dirty little secret. If you're not in that 20%, you're not in line for that raise. So as you're looking for, I want a raise, I want that next promotion, what do I do? The first thing is just realize, first, see yourself from your boss's perspective. What motivates him or her? And as someone who's been on the receiving end of ask for a raise, let me tell you how it usually works. Hey, I'd like a raise. And suddenly on autopilot, the pre-rehearsed message starts coming out of my mouth explaining how it's been a down quarter, resources have been tight, we really don't have the flexibility, yada, 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 yada. Because as a manager, I'm trying to find the most tactful way of saying no without saying no. And that's kind of where the autopilot
And
goes.
you're just saying that you're just lying. You're just outright saying, actually,
Well,
the
here's
truth
the thing.
is
No,
you're not
it's-
in this other category, so
lying.
I'm going to come up with some.
It's not lying. We have budgets earmarked for certain things, and for people who are non-producers, the budget for you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Because that's not what the budget's earmarked for. So it's not lying. It's we have the responsibility when you manage a company. I got into this conversation recently with an employee where he was like, over the course of a year, that raise is so small. It's like $100 a month. And I was like, well, you might be leaving the company. You've told me that. And they're like, yeah, but if I leave the company, you didn't pay that money out. So it's no loss to you. And I said, no, but you're thinking micro. You're thinking me and you. I have to decide how to distribute these resources I've been given across the entire board. So the question is, if I'm giving you a raise, why should I give you a raise instead of this person over here?
Especially if you're
Dan-
leaving the company.
Right. And
Why would I
suddenly-
invest more money
in
into
you
someone that
when
won't
I
be here?
could invest in someone who's
No.
staying and give them a raise as a like
By the way, that's a really valuable CEO's perspective. So, Kris, finish your thought because I'm really
Yeah, for
curious
sure.
where you're headed.
So if we know that the approach, hey, can I have a raise, is going to lead to a subconscious automated response, my question is, how do we short circuit that? And let me hand you the key right now to actually having a real conversation with your manager about a raise. Here's the key. Don't ask for the raise. Instead, ask a different question that will lead to an actual conversation. An example of this would be, who is the best person who's had my job description that you've ever worked with? And then ask questions, because obviously they're going to have a name comes to mind because everyone knows who their rock stars are. So then ask why. What is it that made this person stand out? And dig deeper.
And you're
accept-
now starting to
Yeah.
learn the values of your manager.
that's good.
For sure,
Yes.
because in order for you to get a raise, your manager has to perceive value in you. So if you learn the secret on how they perceive value, then you know your top 3 or 4 things. Like, for example, if you've got a manager who really values you being on time and showing up, and they tell you that, you then put that on your little list. If I want a raise, I need to make sure I'm 10 minutes early to everything I do. Or if someone says, you know what, I really love the employees who take things off my plate, who proactively report back and tell me what they're doing and who get stuff done, that's good info. If you want to know the hack to what's important to your boss, ask him or her. They'll be glad to tell you.
I can't tell you how many times people are like, I'm doing all this hard work and my boss doesn't seem to notice. And it's like, are you sure you're working on the right things? Because if he doesn't notice, maybe you're working on things that
Well, and I've got
Don't
one more thing.
matter.
Are you communicating
Yeah.
with your boss, or are you just assuming that they're going to notice you? Like, there's a couple of hacks I just got to give that if you don't possess these qualities and you ask my opinion on whether I want to give you a raise, it's an automatic no. There's 2 things that will really get you to stand out, especially in today's world. I mean, let's be honest. We live in a far more entitled society where people that just believe they're owed something. So when you find someone that's willing to work for it, there's 2 qualities that really stand out. The first one is integrity. I calculate everyone's batting average. You know, batting average is based on 1,000. It's like if I went up to bat 10 times and I could hit the ball 10 times, I would have a 1,000 batting average. So it turns out that in actual stats that a 200 to 300 batting average is like average, right? It's kind of what they expect. But if you want to be a standout, your batting average would have to be like 300 or 400, a little bit higher. For me, I actually have a batting average on integrity. And it's very simple. If I give you 10 tasks and you do 5 of them, then I would say that you have a 500 batting average on your integrity. In other words, do you do what you say you're going to do? And I'm just going to tell you right now that if someone has less than an 800 batting average, they mean nothing to me. Oh, I can give you 5 tasks and you'll only do 4 of them. Hey, thanks for leaving me high and dry on the 5th one. And they're like, but what about the other 4? Does it look like I'm a person that wants to pay you to do 4/5 of the things that I ask you to do? And yet we live in a world where guess what the average batting average is in the world?
300.
It's like 200, 300, 400. It's not good. It's like, hey, I'll call you in 5 minutes. The next day, no phone call.
A week later.
It's crazy. So in other words, like just imagine that your boss is a literalist. If you say you're going to do something, what would it have to look like for you to actually do it? You're the one setting the expectations. I'll have that report to you by tomorrow morning. Let me ask you, if you know that you can have it by tonight, I would set the expectation for tomorrow morning, and then I would deliver it the day before in the evening and say, and what is your boss thinking? Wow, this person isn't just a person of their word, they're early. And do you know who I admire? First, people who do what they say they're going to do, but people that actually exceed their own expectation that they set. So man, hack that. If you want to literally just look different than everyone else, every time you commit to do something, write it down and then follow up and say, did I do it by the time that I said I was going to do it? And if you do, I promise you've already put yourself in a very, very different category, because here's what we're really asking. Are you dependable? And we want to work with people that are dependable. So that's the first of the 2 hacks that I just wanted to drop first is, dude, what is your integrity score? What's your integrity batting average? Dude, the second one, Milner, you hit this one. Communication. How are you as a communicator? There's 3 types of communicators. There's a minimal communicator. There's those that meet basic communication expectations. And then there are those that over communicate. Curious, Carson and Kris, who do you prefer to work with?
Over communicators.
Now, why over communicators though? Like, why someone that communicates more frequently than they said they would?
Because it means I don't have to hunt down the information. It's there when I need it.
So no micromanagement. Micromanagement is what you do when the person is not reporting out to you as frequently as they should. And who here wants to be a babysitter?
Nobody.
I got to ride this person to get what I want from that person. And sometimes, you know what the worst is people that are doing what they're supposed to do, but because they don't tell you, you don't know whether to celebrate them. You don't know whether to can them, because they're just not openly communicating and telling you what's up and what's down. So I think the second hack for anyone, if you literally want to put yourself in line with getting a raise, if you have to report every Friday to your boss updates on 3 different projects, dude, here's my advice. Give an update on Wednesday and Friday. Double the communication. You know what your boss will think? Your boss probably wants updates before Friday. And when you give them that information earlier, let me ask you, do you think everyone else is doing that? Let's say the answer is yes. Then I'd be reporting 3 times a week. Bottom line is, it's like fixing up a house. You don't ever put more into a house than what everyone else's neighbor houses are selling for. If everyone's putting granite in, then when you update the kitchen before you flip the deal, then you should probably put granite in it. But if everyone's got Formica, if everyone's got nice solid surface, don't put granite in. You're not going to get your money back on that. All the houses are selling at a certain standard. Meet that standard. In communication, go above the standard. So find out what everyone else is doing and be the one that your boss would have to argue is a better communicator than everyone else. That's the person that they want to work with. That's the person they bug the least. That's the person they get the most out of.
I had a brother-in-law share this with me. He said, never go above and beyond without letting someone know
Oh, I love that.
you did. Because a lot of times we think, oh man, I'm working these late nights. I'm doing all this stuff and nobody appreciates it. And it's like, well, dude, nobody knows, right? Find a reason to send an email at 1 a.m. if you're up that late working. Be like, hey, just wanted to let you know I got most of the way through this project. And your manager will see the timestamp on it and they'll know that you're hustling and they'll see that effort.
Well, dude, and it's not always about saying I got it done. Sometimes we're like, well, I'll communicate when it's complete. It's like, I don't think you get it. Communicating, even when you've made no progress, but helping them understand why, is still deemed as a positive instead of a negative.
Yep. So can we address the fear? I believe there's this fear that exists in employees, that they will go above and beyond, they will work hard and they'll put in all this extra effort. And for what? They're not going to give me a raise. Why would I do that?
Because sometimes you do. Sometimes the expectation is that you go above and beyond and you don't get a raise. Maybe you get acknowledged. Maybe you get a feeling of significance. Maybe you get to stand up and be recognized.
Well, I think also the real value in doing this, believe it or not, it's not the money. It's who are you becoming as part of the journey. The money is like the byproduct. My question is for you in your career, If you're at a job for 4 years and you do the bare minimum, who are you when you exit that job in 4 years?
Probably the same as when
The
you
same
started.
dang person you started. But let's say you had the same job for 4 years, but instead of living on autopilot, getting the bare minimums, you strove for excellence. What kind of person are you going to be in 4 years? You will have developed the types of habits, patterns, and skill sets and dependability that make you more valuable. And if your current boss doesn't recognize it, I guarantee you, if you're on the top of what you're doing, there's another job with another employer out there who will pay you more for it.
It's interesting, actually, Kris. You're bringing up something. On the one hand, you're saying this is how you get a raise to get money, but on the other hand, you also, Carson, I've heard you say this, like you've got to agree with the company's mission and culture enough that you want to be a part of the team. Because sometimes you're not going to get paid in a raise. You're just more likely to if you have both these things going on. I always cite that Gallup poll that says 85% of us hate what we do for a living. And it's like, man, if it's just a money game, dude, people don't like that either. You got to find a way to make it a passion play and a money game. And that's when I think you have a perfect fit.
Kris, I think most of our employees really love working here. And when I hear that Gallup poll that 85% hate what they're doing, I'm like, can we hire those people? Because I think they would love working here.
Hey, by the way, how many people are we planning on hiring in the next 12 months?
Like 100, 150?
150 people. So, by the way, reach out to support@kriskrohn.com. Maybe you'll find out if we have
Yeah, seriously, send us a resume at support.
We're definitely hiring.
Or not Google us. Look us up on Indeed. We've got a bunch of job postings up always on Indeed, looking for good talent of people that are entrepreneurs that take their job serious and want to see some huge results.
Just really curious then. So if you find someone that says, I love the company, I love what you guys do, I'm super passionate, I want to play hard, and you guys are telling me that your culture could also include giving me raises?
Yes.
The answer is definitely yes. I was, Kris, you and I got in an argument the other day a little bit because you thought, oh, Kris, are you really secretly that 60-hour work week kind of guy? And, Kris, what do you, you're the boss, right? What do you want? Are you trying to tap every possible resource out of your employee? And we had a really good conversation because we got all these hiring things going on and I made a claim. I basically said, truth be told, if you work a whole lot less, but you get all your stuff done and you're communicating well and you're exceeding expectations and you're producing that ROI, why should I care the hours that you work? And I genuinely, I feel that way. Not all employers do.
No, I would say most don't. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is there's a certain amount of flexibility here because of the type of people that we hire.
Yeah.
Because they're the go-getters that say, that agree, that are like, well, shoot, if I can do it smart instead of do it the hard way, I'll do it smart and save myself the time. And we're like, good job. It's what you should do.
Don't forget, we're going up against Dave Ramsey, who's telling everyone to be poor by saving money and buying things cash. So if you're passionate about, what we do, then
send a resume to support@kriskrohn.com.
Okay, so we've talked about a number of different things. What are final thoughts today as far as if someone wants to get a promotion, what else should they be considering? For you guys, high-level executives in a massively growing company with a lot of teams, employees, what are you guys looking for when you want to give someone a raise? What stands out for you?
Being revenue generating. Everything we do here is built around ROI, and newsflash, every business out there is built around ROI. They just don't take it to the employee level as often, right? They just want their employees to be cogs. But if you can find a way to bring additional revenue to the company, it's easy to make a claim for a piece of that. Be like, I'm bringing you this extra revenue. You're welcome.
So, sometimes employees are really disconnected from the reality of how a business operates. Here's what everyone should know. A company in general wants to get a 4x return on you. So if they pay you $100,000 a year, they expect $400,000. If they pay you $50,000 a year, they expect $200,000. Dude, when I invite my mom over for dinner, I cannot tell her where I sourced my meat because I might have gone hunting in Alaska and I have this amazing, all natural grass-fed whatever, that we're eating, this deer, this stag, this whatever. And my mom freaks out because she's like, meat comes from the supermarket. It comes in a package, it's styrofoam, it's got plastic on top. That's where meat comes from. I'm like, sorry, mommy, I hate to disappoint you, but this actually came from an animal that I shot. And I know exactly, by the way, this thing is hormone-free, this thing is healthier, this thing got to live a positive life. It didn't go to a slaughterhouse. I've just probably pissed off a whole bunch of people.
Yes, you did.
That's okay, you're not my people. And basically, I won't tell my mom where I source this meat from so that she'll actually eat it. And then me and my brother snicker, behind her back because we're like, we know we're feeding you the superior backstrap that came out. We know exactly where and when and how this beast went down. And I know where meat comes from, but some people freaking don't, especially when you're really deep into processed foods. Well, turns out there's a lot of people who work for companies and they don't understand how to generate
know where the meat comes
for their
from.
boss. And if you don't know how to generate more revenue for your company, like you've got to step out of this whole, well, my job description and I do these tasks. I'm like, stop. What are you doing that really impacts bottom line, whether it's helping clients be happy or whether it's helping, create a certain level of fulfillment or whether it's selling? Because if you don't understand that math, then you're probably doomed. You're probably in a job where you can't get a raise.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and this goes for any job across the board, if you are improving yourself personally in your life, no matter what it is, it'll have a positive impact in your job.
Yeah.
I believe that most people who are very disgruntled and unhappy with their jobs, it's because they're probably floating along the same way in life in general. Because if you're the type of person that's always growing and learning, it's going to add skill, it's going to add value to what you're doing in your day job as well as your daily life. And I love what you said. It's about who you're becoming.
Well, and let's scare people for a second. I'm going to tell you the safest kind of raise that you can get. What do you think is easier for a boss to do? Give you a piece of upside off of production that you increase or increase your salary? What do you think a boss would prefer?
Off the bonus. Off the increase.
Listen, you know what? There's going to be some bosses out there that have really great margins and they're going to say, I actually just want to give you a bump in salary because I'm going to make even more money by doing that and you'll be happy. But for me, I look at it and I'm like, dude, honestly, I keep my fixed expenses lower if I don't increase your salary, and I risk giving you double or triple or quadruple the raise that you hope for if it's based on production. Can I tell you what I love about that? It means that you have to keep your eye on the ball of producing more. I'm not talking about like a sales job or 100% commission. I mean, I have those, but I'm just talking about, I think it's healthy for employers to always find a way to create 60, 70, or 80% of income through salary, and then the remainder through some kind of bonus that says, hey, if I help the company win bigger, onboard more clients, help clients become more successful, or whatever it is we do around here, then I actually get a bigger piece of the upside. That will scare some people. Yep. But it's actually how you get a much bigger raise. I always tell people, it's like, man, the last thing you want to do is be part of a socialistic company. Meaning, this is your salary, they determine your worth, and no matter how hard you work, you can't get paid more, except when they give you a bump, it's just a percentage that is added on top of your salary. Dude, instead, I would rather have exposure to risk of, shoot, if I don't hit that number, no bonus, but if I do, my raise could be way more significant than the really stupid, safe annual 4-6% adjusted whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, by the way, just to be aware that there's a good chance your boss will feel more comfortable, especially if you're the one proposing a raise. Hey, I went in, I created all this extra value because you said you valued it. It's now been X amount of time. I've proven to create X amount of new revenue. I'd like to get an override. To the owner, they're thinking, well, shoot, as long as you keep managing that thing and making more money, then I'm giving you a piece of the upside that wasn't there for me before. You're not asking for a salary. My fixed expenses aren't going up. Again, that is probably what is in the mind of your boss. So have that awareness.
For sure. And Kris, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, but if I was to repeat it in my own words, my final takeaways would be find out what matters to your boss, find out how to measure it, find out how to improve it, and find a way to share it with your boss. And that to me is the recipe for how you get a raise.
So in other words, don't go and say, I have hunches on things that I did that tangentially may have indirectly impacted revenues. By the way, those are the dumbest conversations that I've ever had with people. What you just said is really important, which is show me the money. Show me the numbers.
Yep.
Show me the data that you know your boss already recognizes as a meaningful correlation to revenue. Really good advice, Kris. Shoot, there you go. How to get a raise all in like 30 minutes.